Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Zudi Pickups. In today's video, we'll be talking about the Nike Air Fear of God 1s in the Oatmeal colorway. So these shoes came out November 2nd of 2019 for a retail price of $350, officially making it the most expensive pair of shoes I have ever purchased. Wow. But that being said, this shoe comes to us as a collaboration between Fear of God's Jerry Lorenzo and Nike. And I think this is actually a pretty significant shoe in that regard, because this is a brand new silhouette. And usually they get colorways or they get modifications of existing shoes. They don't really get their brand new silhouette unless you're like some sort of professional athlete. The only person who wasn't a professional athlete that got their own silhouette in the past, from Nike anyway, was Kanye West with his Air Yeezy 1s and Air Yeezy 2s. So the fact that now we have a streetwear designer getting his own silhouette, I think that is pretty indicative of the direction the footwear market is moving in 2019. So the Fear of God 1s, they've been out for almost a year now. This is, I think, the 7th colorway of the shoe. They've been doing incredibly well. The first two colorways were the bone, the black, and then they had that canary yellow version, and then they had the spruce green, I think, and the pulse orange, and there was the sail colorway, and yeah, so that's 6. And the oatmeal colorway here marks the 7th colorway. I mean, I gotta say, I really like this colorway. I'm glad this is the one I was able to get, because this is, for me, this is like a very close second in terms of my preferred colorways. The original bones being at the very top of the list. So yeah, in this iteration, Jerry Lorenzo decided to go with a very earthen approach, using a lot of beiges, a lot of muted tones, and I think the overall color of the shoe makes it very wearable and easily applicable to a various number of fits. So usually I don't really talk about the boxes the shoes come in this channel, I just talk about the shoes. So however, that being said, the unboxing experience for these shoes was pretty special, so I'd like to kind of go over the contents of the box with you. I'll just add the timestamp down below if you just want to skip, directly go to the shoe. So this is the box the shoe comes in. As you can see, it comes in this giant square, kind of like pale orange box. There is some Fear of God branding directly in the middle, done in clear ink, very, very subtle. And if we open up the top, you can see it comes with this really nice dust bag. I mean, at this point, you can't really even call this a dust bag. It's so nice. It's kind of like a shopping tote almost. As you can see, it's like 2 layers. There's like this light mesh layer, and then there's like an inside canvas layer. So it gives off this pretty cool dual layer effect. On the front, as you can see, you have the Air Fear of God logo, and on the back we have the Nike swoosh. So a really nice carrying bag. I think this is probably like the nicest accessory I've ever got from buying a shoe, like ever. So the rest of the contents in the box comes wrapped in this kind of like space blanket like foil material here. So I've put the other shoe back in the foil bag to kind of emulate the unboxing experience for you guys. So it just like comes right out of this little baggie here, and you can see, boom, like shoes are right there. Really cool. It really adds to the whole, like, I don't know, like the futuristic kind of vibe that they're going for with this shoe. Also in the box, you have this little mini foil Ziploc bag, also with Nike and Air Fear of God branding. And when you open up the top of the Ziploc, you can see it comes with some extra laces. These are just some cream white laces. And you also get this pretty cool hang tag here. This frosted plastic hang tag. On the front, it says Air Fear of God. On the back, you have the Nike swoosh. And on the sides, there's some text debossed. One side says Winter 18, and the other side has a serial number on it with a bunch of numbers. We'll get to that later. That is repeated on the shoe. Other contents, a bunch of different lace locks. So you got these tan lace locks that kind of match the shoe. You got this kind of like gray one that I have on the other shoe, and then you have these pale orange ones. So you have a choice of 3 different types of lace locks. So a bunch of different customization options for your shoe right here. All right, now that we got the box out of the way, we can get to the good stuff, which is the actual shoe itself. So let's talk about this. The upper is consisted of 2 main materials. You have this breathable mesh that consists of most of the shoe, about 75%. And then you have this super soft suede material that covers the toe box here. Interesting thing, I was watching a interview with Jerry Lorenzo and the guys that designed this shoe. So first and foremost, they wanted to actually design a shoe that could perform as an actual performance basketball shoe. So one of the main problems that they ran into was apparently initially the entire shoe was made out of this leather material, and the players' feet were overheating like crazy while they were wearing this while playing ball. So Jerry and crew decided to go with this kind of like mesh upper to alleviate the heat venting issue, and apparently that did solve the problem. So that's pretty cool that they took actual performance into consideration when building these shoes. You know, they just weren't trying to build like a cool looking shoe. They wanted to build a shoe that would actually perform well on the court as well. Moving to the very front of the shoe, we have this little 3M kind of like Scotch panel right here. There's lighting hitting the shoe right now, so it's probably like going off like crazy, but under normal lighting conditions, you really can't see this 3M. It just kind of looks like a different shade of beige than the rest of the shoe. Another cool feature that they have, and this is a little bit of fear of God DNA in the shoe, is how the shoelaces go all the way down here towards the toe box and create this V shape. You can actually see this in a lot of his other like normal fear of God line shoes. And also more recently, you could see them in the Fear of God Raids, which I reviewed a couple of months ago. So you can see the exact same V shape here going on with the laces, and also this this stitched panel down the tongue. You can see that the Fear of God Raids also share the exact same DNA here. So I think it's pretty cool that he incorporated these kind of like overarching design elements throughout his entire collection with Nike. So moving to the cage, you can see there is a pretty big cage on here. It's big, but it's minimalist, and it takes its design inspiration from the Air Huarache Light. Right there, put up a picture. So Jerry took inspiration from that shoe, but wanted to make it a little more sleek and minimalistic, and the cage is what we have here. So on the Oatmeal colorway, you can see that the cage is slightly translucent. It's kind of like a 20% opacity kind of deal where you can kind of see under it, so you can kind of see my finger, but it's just like a very little bit of opacity. And I think that translucency really gives this shoe like a really unique vibe. So one interesting thing about the cage is the fact that the back of the cage is split right here to allow room for the zipper to operate. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was a pretty neat little design element. And actually, I think Jerry does talk about it in his video about how he came up with the shoe. People were, I think, complaining that it was too hard to get on and off, so he decided to split the cage and add the zipper down the spine of the back here. Some design details on the cage. You can see that you have the Nike logo embossed right here on the heel, and then also you have the Nike swoosh on the lateral side of the shoe, done in white in this colorway. And it's kind of like a little mini swoosh. There's actually that's like the only Nike branding on this entire thing. So now let's turn our attention to the back of the shoe towards this zipper system I was just talking about. So the zipper system here, so first of all, the zipper itself is pretty cool. You have this custom zipper pull. It says Fear of God debossed into the side and Nike debossed into the other side. And you can see it's like a pretty cool like shape here. And I'm gonna pull it open. And there's like a unique design element here, and this is kind of like a, I don't know what to even call it, like a heel support column. And basically it helps you when you're putting the shoe on. It helps your kind of like heel slide down the column into the shoe without getting caught in this back zipper portion here. And once you zip up the shoe, it also helps have that zipper not actually touch your skin to kind of like help you avoid abrasion. So it kind of serves two purposes. So it's pretty cool. It's leather on the backside, and it is a very soft upholstered fabric on the inside. And you can see there is some Air Fear of God branding here on the inside. So this logo too, it's a play on the Flight logo, I think from the Jordan 4s. Apparently Nike is very strict about letting people customize their logos, play with their logos, but apparently for this occasion they saw it fit for the Fear of God collection. So there we have it. We got the Flight style Air Fear of God logo right here on the heel. Moving to the inside of the shoe, you can see the inside of this mesh material is done in this perforated micro suede to kind of like help with ventilation and also feel extremely soft to the hand. So basically it's a material that feels good and also ventilates pretty well. Moving to the insole, you have a actual removable insole. And as you can see here, it's done in this same kind of like faded orange colorway, and you have a bunch of perforations to help with ventilation. You have some numbers here on the heel. It says 06, 10, 24, 25. I wasn't exactly sure what that was, so I looked it up, and apparently it's a Bible verse. 06 is the 6th book in the Bible, which is Joshua, chapter 10, and verse 24 to verse 25. And that reads, "When they had brought these kings to Joshua, he summoned all of the men of Israel and said to the army of commanders who had come with him, 'Come here and put your feet on the necks of these kings.' So they came forward and placed their feet on their necks. Joshua said to them, 'Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, be strong and courageous. This is what the Lord will do to all the enemies you are going to fight.'" I mean, I am not a religious man, but Jerry is, and I am inferring what he's trying to say with that Bible passage is that basically, you know, like wear these shoes and kick ass, and you know, God's got your back essentially. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. That's you know, that's pretty inspirational. Very deep, very deep. So yeah, continuing on with the rest of the shoe, as you can see, while the insole is removed, you can actually see the Zoom Air kind of footbed in there. And that Zoom Air footbed actually extends all the way to the tips of your toes. So it's like a full length Zoom footbed, and that actually makes the shoe like super comfortable while also like keeping the performance of the shoe very high. You get extremely high rebound, a very responsive cushioning system indeed. So I guess like that transitions us perfectly to the next thing I want to talk about, which is the midsole and outsole kind of like big combination unit here. So as you can see, it seems like this midsole is humongous, really high, but it's not really. It's kind of like the illusion of being high. The actual midsole kind of like is like about this high. The rest of it is kind of like the stylized rubber kind of going up into the cage, which is also worth mentioning because the way that they did these seams, you have this totally flush seam in between the cage and the midsole here that really adds to this like whole sleek unibody look of the shoe. But yeah, that being said, the actual midsole unit itself like is only about like this high. And I'd like to point out the color of the midsole here. It's like this beautiful kind of like opaque, kind of creamy, milky, like slightly translucent type of thing. I mean, it's really difficult to describe. The best way I can describe it is like cereal milk. You know, after you've eaten the cereal out of the milk is kind of like that beige, kind of like brownish color. That's exactly what this color is. So like the whole transparency of it, it really plays well with the transparency of the cage. I'm really loving it. So I guess we got to talk about the main highlight design feature of these shoes, which is the rectangular cut air unit here. This takes inspiration directly from the Air Max 180. Put a picture right there. But the thing that Jerry did different on these shoes is that he made the air unit flush with the rest of the shoe. So like I mentioned earlier, being flush is kind of like the repeating pattern here. So the air unit is flush with the midsole and the midsole is flush with the cage. So you got this kind of like seamless construction where there's no bumps or no edges or anything like that. It's just smooth, and it just kind of like really contributes to that monolithic, futuristic, minimalist look. The air unit is this very slightly translucent blue color, and you can actually see right through it. And you can see that a layer of Zoom Air on the very bottom. So this Zoom Air along the heel works in conjunction with that entire full-length Zoom Air that I talked about earlier. So you actually have 2 layers of Zoom Air on the heel, making the shoe extremely plush and extremely responsive. Also, along the midsole itself, there are some cool design features as well, some little details. On the heel, we have the Fear of God branding just embossed very subtly. It's kind of difficult to see on this colorway. You could see it better on like the pure white midsoles on the older Fear of God ones, but this kind of like translucent milky midsole, it's a little difficult to see, but it is definitely there, the Fear of God embossing. And here on the lateral side, we have Air Fear of God SN 8329166. So that serial number is the same serial number we saw on the little hang tag earlier. And that serial number belongs to Jerry Lorenzo's grandpa, who served in the military during the Second World War. And so that's just kind of like a little homage Jerry put in there for him. But yeah. Moving to the outsole, you can see that you have this, the exact same material, the rubber, translucent rubber material, just kind of continuing all the way around. You have this kind of like repeating circle ripple pattern for traction all along the forefoot and the heel. And you can see that the air unit flushness continues here on the outsole as well. And you can also see the Nike logo right there. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about in terms of all the features and functions on the shoe. That was kind of a lot because there was a lot to talk about here. So now let's talk about sizing and wearability. So in terms of sizing, I would say this shoe fits half a size big, but that is with like an asterisk. In terms of just like straight up like length, it fits half a size big. However, that being said, the shoe is pretty narrow. So if you did size down half a size and if you have wide feet, you might have some issues because of the shoe being so narrow. Thus, because of that, I recommend you just stay true to size. To avoid kind of like the narrow problems with the middle of the foot here. Maybe I just have like a really weird shaped foot, but I did feel a little bit of discomfort right around here on the arch area just because how narrow the midfoot on the shoe was. Another reason not to size down would be the difficulty of getting the shoe on and off. So like I mentioned earlier, Jerry did add a zipper to split the cage in half. That being said, even that does not make the shoe very easy to get on and off. It's actually a pretty big challenge to get the shoe on and off. Like, it is actually a little bit of a struggle every time I try to put this on and off. I'm kind of like wrestling with it. Getting it in is like not as hard. All I need is like a little bit of force and like it gets in. Taking it off, however, like it has taken up to like 5 minutes to get it off just because like the shoe just gets stuck on your foot and you just have to pull like super, super hard. Like you have to be actually pretty strong to get this shoe off. And I think that's like a common problem among other people that have this shoe. I've seen a bunch of other people complaining about essentially the same thing. So if you guys know any easy ways to take this shoe off, please leave them in the comments down below. I would love to know. So another thing I'm kind of concerned about is like the durability of the zipper here and if it's gonna break, right? Because like I said, you know, I'm putting so much force on the shoe when I'm like putting it on and taking it off. Like all that stress is kind of like right here at this point where like the back seam kind of like meets. And if the zipper breaks, you know, like that's kind of like game over for the shoe. It's like a $350 pair of shoes. I can't wear them because the zipper breaks. So I need to be really careful with this. And if you look here, like the zipper is actually like pretty flimsy. There's like a little tiny piece of metal holding the zipper pull onto the zipper unit here. So I don't know, that kind of freaks me out. I have to be like, I have to do this like weird thing where I'm really forceful and gentle at the same time when I'm trying to put these shoes on because trying to get my foot in, but I'm trying to also not break the zipper at the same time. So I would definitely like to see some improvements here. If the zipper just kind of went down all the way down here to the midsole, I think it would have been like much easier to put the shoe on and take the shoe off, but I can see why from like an aesthetic point, like they didn't do that. But I feel like in this case, the form was less important than the function. They should have just taken the zipper down just a little bit lower. It would have been a lot easier for everyone. Let's talk about comfort. The comfort of this shoe is extremely high, surprisingly. Maybe it's because of the dual stack Zoom Air unit, but it's just really cushy. And also it's very responsive. I think Zoom Air is actually one of my favorite cushioning systems Nike has. And the fact that there's like 2 layers of that in this shoe just make it like, like double good. So I'm very happy with the comfort. It's easily like, you could wear these shoes around all day and not feel any sort of foot fatigue at all. Ventilation is actually pretty good too because of the mesh and the perforated micro suede up top. That being said, would I wear these in the summer? And probably not. It doesn't ventilate like that well. So yeah, I think that pretty much concludes everything I have to say about the shoe. I'm really glad I finally was able to get one of these Fear of God ones, especially in this like colorway that was super sick. I'm really happy I got the oatmeal colorway. I am vibing this whole like minimalist, very futuristic look. I just love the lines of this shoe, the flushness of all the components essentially. Like Jerry Lorenzo totally knocked it out of the park. You can totally tell like that he designed this shoe. Just great vibes overall. So yeah, if you have any questions about the shoe, please leave them in the comments down below. I'm gonna throw these on foot so you guys can see what they look like. And once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next one. Bye.